Hello, good morning. Well, good afternoon, depending where you're at. It's Sammy
Whatever.
B here. I know it's been a while since we made a video.
Yep.
Before I introduce my co-host, today is August 25th. We got the NFL season starting soon. Danny Stone and I here. We're a big Rams fans, so what we're gonna do? Quick little video, going week by week, talk about what we think's gonna happen. So let me introduce Danny Stone, writer from Turf Shop Times. How's it going, Danny? How's your summer going?
Hey, Sammy, be good. Thanks for having me. Excited to do this. Obviously, our goal is to try to go game by game, give our predictions. I mean, that can change. Like if Matthew Stafford were to be hurt or something like that, these predictions I wouldn't say are necessary. I guess they're fluid, but we're going to go with it about 2 weeks before the season starts. And then, if possible, I'd like to do a tie-in article, and then maybe even during the season, we'll do week by week videos, just kind of talking about game by game. But we'll see, one thing at a time. To your point, it's been a good summer. Happy to be here. Looking forward to some football.
Yeah, I got a new backdrop, as you can tell. I got the Rams football, a nice little helmet, or a new hat here. What I want to do is hoping to have a good season, get a Rams helmet behind me, and I don't know if you got a new webcam, Dan, but you're looking good today.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. I don't think it's new, but thank you. That's very kind. You look well as well. I dig the. I got my Todd Gurley jersey on that my buddy got me as a very affordable gift because I think Todd was done with the Rams at that time, and then I've got my old St. Louis Rams hat on just to show that I've been a Rams fan for a little while, I guess.
No, I love it. Yeah, I got my old classic Rams thing here. But like I said,
Yeah.
mentioned in the intro, we're gonna go week by week, look at each team. We're gonna pick who we think's gonna win, and then kind of get a little recap at the end. So starting
Yeah.
off with week one, which is actually a Sunday night, we've got the Rams going back to who they played and lost in the playoffs, the Lions. So how are you feeling about this game?
I'm gonna actually pick the Rams. I think it's gonna be the Matthew Stafford revenge game. I mean, I think you and I both want to. I think a lot of Rams fans want to see the Rams win this one, so I want to try to not be biased. But I just like the improvements the Rams have made. I think they're really feeling last year's loss. I still expect the Lions to be a good team. I think any given Sunday, any of these teams can beat any of these teams. But I'm going to go ahead and put a flag in it and say Rams win. They get their quote revenge game and start the season 1-0.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, I think last year we were about the same record overall, and I think we had like different wins and losses. I mean, for the
Mm-hmm.
Browns, for example. So I was gonna say, I bet we're gonna be probably the same or at most one game difference, but I bet we'll have some games where different. I think feel the same way. I think the Rams come out hot. They want to prove they're looking good. At this point, they're all healthy. Last year they're a little banged up. I think Cooper Cup, we said,
Sure.
him back fully healthy. So I also had the Rams winning week one in Detroit. So nice little revenge game there.
We'll see if the offensive line is back together, but things seem. I think McVay was fairly optimistic in his latest press conference, but I believe I've heard that he's like I think Jordan Rodriguez pointed out in a video that I saw that he's usually optimistic. So we'll just see who's playing on that Sunday. So
And I didn't realize the Rams kind of moved the offensive line. Steve Avila moved to center, so it'll be interesting. He was a guard last year, now he's a center.
yeah, no, it's a big change. But no, it sounds like we both have the Rams. Do you think that they go 2-0 and beat the Cardinals the week after then?
So Cardinals have Kyler Murray back, really good player. He's actually my fantasy team, but no, I don't think the Cardinals. I'm excited to see Marvin Harrison Jr. how he pans
Yep.
out, but I don't think he's gonna make enough of an impact. I think healthy Kyler is nice and all, but I had the Rams winning, and I actually already put money on them. Some of the sports books have the first 2 weeks available, so I already picked the Rams to cover the spread at -2.5 in Arizona.
I might be crazy, but I think I'm gonna kind of I'm just gonna give it away. I think the Rams also start 2-0, and I even think they beat the 49ers in their first matchup in week 3. So I have
Yes,
the Rams starting 3-0. Not to rush you through the animations, I apologize, but
that's right.
I really do. I think the Rams start the season 3-0. The Niners obviously. I guess I won't repeat myself, but I do think they can win as well as any other team. But I'm going to pick the Rams to start the season 3-0 against the 49ers. I'm curious who you have in week 3.
I am not a Purdy believer, and I
Okay.
think the Rams they finally beat San Francisco Week 17, albeit the Niners were benching people, but they finally got the monkey off their back. So I think the Rams finally beat, and this is their first home game of the season. I think they want to prove they're excited. So I actually have the Rams also starting 3-0, beating the Niners here. So
Okay. I'm surprised. I'm actually kind of surprised by that. Um, but I'm with it. I mean, I agree with you. We'll see what happens. The Brandon Ayuk situation is interesting. I expect that to be resolved. But yeah, And actually, the Rams will have Jimmy Garoppolo back that week, so that might be a little bit of a storyline as he's the backup in LA, or will be again
Yeah,
after that.
and I
So,
think
or
he,
should, unless Stetson Bennett takes the backup job, but I don't foresee that. I think they'll
no,
probably put Jimmy G in there.
and
So, yeah, we both have him 3-0. That's
Jimmy
funny.
G is like undefeated against the Rams, right? So it's kind of
Yeah,
interesting
something like
him with us.
yeah.
So yeah, I think he's gonna push the Rams to be the Niners with his return.
Carson Wentz beat the Niners for the Rams last year, which I'm sure a
That's
lot of people know that. But we'll kind of see what it looks like this year. And obviously, I hope the Rams get a win, and I think they do. I think they start 3-0, setting them up for a pretty big matchup against the Chicago Bears, who should be much improved. Week 4, that should be an exciting game, to say the least. And luckily for the Rams, and I hate to admit this, but I think they're kind of fortunate that they're going to Chicago in the early part of the season and not the later part of the season when it's a little colder and maybe the conditions are a little tougher. Not to say Stafford can't handle it. He was in Detroit all those years, but yeah, I do think California, the LA Rams like their sunny California weather. But I'm gonna pick the Rams. I got them 4-0 right now. I think they beat the Bears, who are very good, and I can see DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze ripping the Rams secondary up. But I also can see, and the Bears have a good defense, but I don't know. I'm just going to pick Sean McVay over Matt Eberflus, and maybe I'll eat my words. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I just think McVay is a good coach, and I think they're 4-0 at this point in the year. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got a couple highlights. You did mention they're going to Chicago. This is their third away game in the first 4 weeks. Kind of a lot. And you mentioned how before we started week 1, how this is all early picks. I say that to mention is looking at some experts who have their power rankings. They have this as a pick 'em. You know, they can go either way.
Sure.
Caleb Williams did look good, albeit preseason. So I actually give the Rams a loss because I think it's a hangover from beating the Niners. I think our defense, I'm kind of sketchy on what our defense is going to look like, especially defensive backs. Because the Bears, they have Keenan Allen. You already mentioned Adume and DJ Moore. So I think the receivers are going to be too much. So I'm giving the Rams their first loss, and at this point, I have them 3-1.
Fair. I don't think I'm in any position to say that's a crazy take. I think that's perfectly makes sense, and I see it. I think we're going to disagree on our Week 5 picks then, because I think the Rams have their first loss of the year against Green Bay in Week 5, and I'm guessing you probably think that McVay wins, but I shouldn't speak for you.
I mean, I want to go with the
He's
Rams.
never beaten Matt LaFleur, to my knowledge. He's never beaten Matt LaFleur as a head coach.
Yeah, I didn't believe in Jordan Love last season, but he actually proved me wrong and he did pretty good. It's actually the Rams losing here and going into the bye week at 3-2. So
okay, all right.
I think the Packers. I mean, it's kind of weird. Watson, I think, is the number 1 receiver. They're a really young team, so I think same thing. I think the Rams I think when they get exposed by Chicago, I think the receivers. I think the same thing's going to happen here.
Wow. Okay. Fair enough. So you have him at 3-2. I thought you would have picked McVay to win, but that's fair. So I have him at 4-1 after the Packers game. You have him at 3-2 right now.
And like I said, even though it's still early, looking at current power rankings, I believe the Rams are only 1.5 point favorite in this game, so it's kind of almost a pick 'em. So that's what I'm looking towards Green Bay.
I expect the Packers to be really good, and last year, I think we both picked the Lions to win their division, and this year I'm going to pick the Packers. I think the Packers are going to be an improved team. Kind of like the Rams, honestly. The Packers were good, and I think they're even better this year. And even with the loss of Aaron Donald, and maybe this is a bad take, and people can let me know that in the comments, but I think the Rams defense actually will be better than last year's unit overall. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we're just talking, week to week. We're not diving into the team like additions and subtractions, but I did want to highlight, I got an alert today, the Rams leading tackler last year requested a trade. So
yeah,
if that's going to affect them, just because you just mentioned the defense being better, I mean, I'm kind of nervous about that defense. So
yeah, I know the Ernest Jones news is big, but you're right. We'll keep it. I think that's nice because we had a nice little break as the Rams will have a bye week between their time against they'll play the Packers and then they'll have a bye and then we'll get back to it. They're playing the Raiders. I guess that would be October 20th. Looks like an afternoon game, depending on where you're at, obviously, time zones. I'm going to pick the Rams to beat the Raiders. I like Max Crosby. Devontae Adams is a stud, but I think the Rams are overall a better team than the Raiders. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see if Gardner Minshew is still starting by then. There's a lot of variables with the Raiders.
Yep. So you got the Rams winning that one, you said?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah. And as when I had it, that was an early bye, week 6. I don't like how early that is.
It is early.
Coming out playing Vegas. I am scared of Gardner Minshew with that mullet anytime that thing's flowing. But yeah, I had the Rams by double digits, honestly, in this game. And again, some sports books have odds already. There is one I found that had Rams minus 4.5. I already locked that in with a unit. I just feel like the Rams are going to win. Coming off a bye, double digits.
Yeah. So I have them at 5-1, and I think you have them at 4-2 right now.
I mean, the only interesting thing about that early bye is following the Raiders. They go Thursday night to the Vikings. Actually, at home, they're hosting the Vikings. Interesting matchup because their Vikings head coach was O'Connell.
Kevin O'Connell, yep.
Used to be the Rams offensive coordinator. I'll start with this one. I mean, we all know at this point J.J. McCarthy's hurt. Even with J.J. McCarthy, I was not scared of this team. I have this like a 4-win team, if that, So I'm not scared of them at all. Another one that I already have a unit on the Rams winning and covering, so I'm taking the Rams all day in this one.
Okay, no kidding. It looks like it's a Thursday night game because they play the Raiders on October 20th, and they're playing the Vikings on the 24th. So I'm guessing that's a Thursday night game, prime time. I'm going to pick the Rams as well. They beat Sam Darnold last year with the 49ers. I think they beat him again with the Vikings. But I don't know that the Vikings are a 4-win team. I think they're going to be pretty good. I really like Justin Jefferson, though, so maybe he can only take them so far. But I expect the Vikings to be at least competitive. I like Kevin O'Connell, but yeah, I'm giving the Rams a win there, same as you.
No, I agree. And Justin Jefferson he was hurt last year and still put up great fantasy numbers. So I'm scared of him. But I said outside of him, they got no one. Right?
They got that Jordan Addison, assuming that he doesn't get, because he had a car incident. So assuming he doesn't get suspended or in trouble for that. I don't know. We'll see. I guess to tie into your theory, the secondary might be shaky for the Rams. And if that's the case, then these teams with top receivers, which ties into when they play Seattle after the Vikings, because Seattle, I think, has a really nice receiving core with Metcalf and Jackson Smith, the rookie last year, who's a sophomore, and they still kept Tyler Lockett. So that could be serious for the Rams. But I actually, you know what, shoot, I'm going to take Seattle. I think Mike McDonald, the new head coach for Seattle, has them fired up. And I think that the Rams, I guess on my count, take their second loss of the year against Seattle for that first game that they play. And the Rams swept them last year as well. So I think Seattle's got that game circled in a big way.
I mean, I'm going to disagree. It's a long, as you just pointed out, it's a Thursday night game in against Minnesota. So a little extra rest. And I think the Rams know it's a division game, got to play tough. And we know who Seattle is. The Rams have played them good. But you mentioned the receivers. I like them all. Jackson Smith is someone I've been drafting when I can, but their quarterback has to get on the ball. You got to have good receivers. You got to get on the ball. And I don't know if Geno's that guy.
That's a great question. I'm curious if by that point we see Sam Howell, because I think Geno Smith got banged up last year. He is on, I think he's like 30, maybe almost 36, but he's I remember him being with the New York Jets. So I just share, it's just amazing how time flies because he is on the older end now. Geno Smith is, I think, and he's had a good resurgence, good for him. But I agree. I think he's kind of a middle of the pack quarterback, or maybe even a third tier. And maybe that's disrespectful, and I don't mean it that way. I just, I don't think he's as good as Matthew Stafford, but I still, for whatever reason, have Seattle winning that game. But I can change my mind during the season. You might be right. When we actually talk about that game that week, I might be picking the Rams. We'll see.
Yeah, Sam Howell's in. I'm probably taking the Seahawks, but I mean, last year I believe in Geno Smith and the Seahawks, and they weren't terrible, but I don't think they're gonna be better.
I don't think they make the playoffs this year either, but we'll see. We'll see.
All right, and then we go into Week 10, where the Rams host the Miami Dolphins. I'll start with this one. I think the Dolphins' speed is going to catch up to the Rams. I think the Rams can keep up to their speed. And there's a lot of questions that running back right now is A.J. to be the primary workhorse. I mean, this is Week 10. I think at this point, Miami's going to know who's their leading back, what's going on. I think they're going to have everything worked out. And I think it would be a really good team. So I'm taking the Rams to lose to Miami.
As long as they're healthy, yeah, I think it's a primetime game. I'm going to actually Tua beat the Rams before his rookie season. He beat Aaron Donald, if I'm not mistaken. Ooh, this is tough, Sammy B. Oh, I don't mean to hold you up, but wow, I'm really kind of going back and forth. I guess I hate to admit it, but I guess you're right. I guess I'm going to take the Dolphins. I think Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and the speed is too much for the Rams secondary to contain, and I expect the Dolphins defense to come back healthy and be pretty good this year. Jalen Ramsey revenge game, if you want to call it that. I mean, I don't think he left the Rams on bad terms at all, but yeah, I guess you're right. I'm going to pick the Dolphins. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, looking at my notes, I don't know if it's gonna make a difference. I forgot to mention the Dolphins are coming off a game against Buffalo in Buffalo. So to me, this is like, hey, if Miami loses, this is like a must win at this late in the season. So I think Miami's gonna push hard.
Yeah.
So everything I have tells me Miami to win this one.
Well, I think for whatever it's worth, we have the Rams at 6-3 after that game, which is that's a very competitive record, I think, in the NFL. Obviously, it depends on how other teams are doing, but it sounds like you and I both expect a pretty positive season up to that point. And then I assume that on November 17th, the week after the Dolphins, you're going to pick the Patriots over Rams.
So this one, I have it actually kind of a close game. I have it as a get in, get out, stay healthy game. I think because in New England, it's cold. The Rams, we don't know what the spread's going to be. I'm not even going to touch the spread when it comes to that because I think at this point the Rams are like, hey, we just got to get in, get out. Stay healthy. One of those type of games. So yeah, that's fine. I think the Rams are going to win. I think it might be closer than you think, though. What do you think?
Yeah. I hadn't considered the cold factor, and I like that take because then they got to get ready for what I think is going to be a huge NFC matchup against the Eagles. And I hate to say teams sometimes get caught looking ahead, but after that primetime game against the Dolphins, the Patriots might not have a great year, is what a lot of people are saying. So I could see them kind of overlooking the Pats a little bit. Yeah, I could. We'll see what happens, but I think we're both picking the Rams, so that puts them at 7-3, and that sets them up for, I guess, another primetime game against the Eagles, which that should be a big game, I think, because I expect the Eagles to be really good this year, as they've been. I know they teetered off last season, but they did start, I think, 9 or 10-0, which is, I mean, say what you want, but that's hard to do. But I think I picked the Rams over the Eagles in this game. I know they have A.J. Brown and Johan Dotson and Devontae Smith. So your theme of if the secondary can't hold up, these Rams might be picked apart by a lot of teams with a lot of receivers. But they've got Saquon Barkley. But I'm gonna pick the Rams for this game. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna have them beating the Eagles in what should be a huge NFC game.
All right, so yeah, it must be a Sunday night game. Didn't I realize that? So that one, I actually have the Rams losing that one.
Okay.
Philadelphia is, like, sometimes I look at the schedule, like any notes, the Eagles played a Thursday the night before, so the Eagles are extra rested by a couple extra days. I think the Eagles are really good last year. They did fall off, like you mentioned, the hot start they had. I think they're going to improve. Everyone knows the biggest loss, Jason Kelsey, but I think that offense is just too strong. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts is just too good. Like I said, I think with extra rest, I think they play in a division similar to the Rams, where they have the Niners, where it's like every game matters. So I think the Eagles are going to come out hot. Again, extra rest. They played Thursday the week before. So I'm giving the Rams a loss on this one.
I think that's a fine take, and honestly, we'll see when we actually, assuming that we talk about that game that week, which I would guess we will. Mm-hmm. I might be picking the Eagles for that one, but for right now, I'm going to pick the Rams. I'm expecting a really good year for the Rams. I don't want to say Super Bowl, but I'm expecting a really good regular season as I look at the remaining schedule here.
Yeah, I mean, we're nearing 20 minutes. We could have just started with Rams going undefeated, win the Super Bowl, and been done in 30 seconds.
You're right.
Like my love life. Well, anyway, carrying on. We go to the Saints at this point. I'll start this one. Last year, I was high on Derek Carr. And boy, was I wrong. Oh, my God. I think he's an awful quarterback. I'm moving on from him. Right now, you can find the Rams favored by 1.5. I hammered that. I think the Rams are going to just crush the Saints.
I'm taking the Rams as well over the Saints. I think the Saints I don't know. I think Dennis Allen might get fired this year. Not that you want to wish that on people by any stretch, but I just don't. I have not been inspired by what I've seen out of the Saints in a little while now, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll just end there. It's just come on, it's the Saints. But this next game, earlier you mentioned how you're teetering, so they're playing the Bills, excuse me. But you mentioned the Dolphins you're teetering on. This is the one game I looked at the schedule like I don't know, I really don't know. The Rams, on some sports books they're favored by one already. Some it's a pick 'em, so it's kind of even. I don't know what the Bills are doing with their receiving core. I really don't. But I feel like at this point of the season, I think the Rams are overlooking the Bills because they have. Now, I don't want to jump ahead to the next matchup, but the next game is Thursday night against the Niners. Pretty big game. So this is, Sunday before that Thursday night game. So I think it's just too much going on for the Rams. I think they lose. And it's actually a home game. I think they lose to Buffalo.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm gonna actually take the Rams here. I think the Bills are good, and I think Josh Allen's incredible. I do. But I don't know. I'm just thinking it's going to be one of those years for the Rams, and they have a really good year. So I think they beat the Bills, and I'm trying to do a quick count up. But I think I would have them. If they beat the Bills, I would have them at 10-3 with 4 games remaining. Is my math.
Yeah, I'm at 10.
Which is a really good record, and maybe I should check myself, but that's where I'm at right now.
They got a 9-5 right now, I believe. So. But yeah, so that's a tough one. Again, it's just August 25th. The season hasn't even started yet. We don't know what's going to happen.
Correct. Totally. This is fun.
It's fun.
This is fun for us, and hopefully fun for anybody that listens or maybe reads the article. And I know that I said we wanted to keep the video quick, but I'm having fun. I'm having fun going.
Oh yeah, I had some hot takes. I knew that Bears one, losing the Bears probably surprised you. This is fun. So.
It did. It does surprise. Well, it does surprise me, but I don't think it's unrealistic at all. I think the Bears have a lot of good players. And Matt Eberflus might outcoach Sean McVay. They've got a good defense. We've seen Chicago kind of embarrass the Rams, for lack of a better word, in the past, even on their Super Bowl run when they eventually lost to New England. So there's some history there. I could see the. Sure, we'll see what happens.
Now we're down to the last quarter of the season. At this point, like I said, following Thursday night, they're in San Francisco. I'll start with this one. Even though I had them winning earlier, it's just the Rams have struggled against San Francisco historically the last few years.
Yep.
I don't think they can win in San Francisco. I think
no. I have San Francisco for this game, and I actually think, and this might be wrong, but I think the Rams kind of start hot. And at this point in the season, maybe Stafford's a little banged up, maybe Cooper Kupp's a little banged up, and I think the Niners actually start getting stronger later in the season as like their new players. And maybe the Rams rookie defenders, Braden Fisk and Jared Verse and some other guys who I don't mean to disrespect, but just other names, maybe they step up. But I'm agreeing with you. I'm going to pick the 49ers for that game. So I'll have the Rams at 10-4 with 3 games left as of right now, as you said, on August 25th. Before we know anything, really. We don't even know what the final rosters are yet.
All right, let me go. This will be an interesting one. After following in San Francisco, they're in New Jersey for the New York Jersey Nets.
Yeah.
Jets. This one, I don't know how it's going to play out. Again, they're coming off a long extra rest because of the Thursday night game. I think at this point, Rodgers is too old. I'm going to take the Rams in this one, actually.
I'm actually, if Rodgers is healthy, Breece Hall, I'm curious how the run defense for the Rams will be this year because they play a lot of good running backs, at least in my opinion, as I look at their schedule, at least a few. I'm going to pick the Jets. December looks like they are away, so they're going to be in New York. I'm going to pick the Jets for that game. So I'll have the Rams, I think, 10-5 with 2 games to play.
And I have them 9-6. 6 losses with 2 games left. So after that,
I think we're going to agree on the final 2 games, but maybe not.
Maybe. I think so. Because then last 2 games are at home against division teams. We'll start with the Cardinals. Yeah, I'll start here. I mean, I don't think the Cardinals will be great. I mean, I don't think they'll be as bad as they were last year because you have a healthy Murray. He's actually pretty good. But I'm taking the Rams here. What about you?
I am too. I'm taking the Rams to sweep the Cardinals again this year. And we'll see what happens. I thought the Cardinals played hard last year. And the Cardinals actually kind of stomped the Dallas Cowboys last year. And then the Dallas Cowboys stomped the Rams. So by that logic, which this isn't really logic, but through transference, the Cardinals should be able to beat the Rams because they've beaten teams that have beaten the Rams, but that's obviously not how it actually works. But I'm going to pick the Rams for that game, but I won't be shocked if the Cardinals win just because, the Rams can't beat them forever. They do drop some games to them.
Yeah, and I mean, I as you know, I'm close to Arizona. I was hoping to go to the Rams Cardinals game in Arizona, but I'll be flying back to my wedding, so I
Gotcha.
might fly back early to try to catch the game. But
yeah, maybe.
So then we got the last game of the season. The Rams are hosting Seattle. How do you feel about that one?
So, assuming that the Rams, because I have them at 11-5 at this point, which is a really good record, and for all I know, maybe they clinch a playoff spot. I think that the 49ers are going to be really good, so I think the Rams are going to have to play the final week and treat it like it matters because I think it will. But I do have the Rams beating Seattle in that game. So the way that I have their final end of the season right now, their last quarter, roughly, if you will, is they lose to the 49ers, lose to the Jets, then they win out against the Cardinals and Seahawks, finishing the season at 12-5, and then setting them up for what I think is going to be, or what has a chance to be a really good playoff run, coming off of those 2 wins, getting some momentum, division wins no less. And then I have no idea who they would play in the playoffs. I mean, the NFC, the AFC, you've got Patty Mahomes and stuff, but the NFC's got some good teams between the Eagles and the Packers and the 49ers, and who knows, the Bears might be one of those teams. We'll see. But I've got the Rams at 12-5, it looks like, which should be a playoff spot.
I'll let you start this one because I'm on my notes. I wrote something funny. I said the Rams have a playoff spot clinched, and they bring in Jimmy G, who starts the game, but the Rams don't want to lose at home. They know that. It's Rams' house. So Jimmy G comes in and wins it for them. I had the Rams finishing 11-6. You already mentioned it. You had the Rams 12-5. I actually have them at 11-6, but not winning the division. I think the Niners are going to be too good. Looking at their schedule, I can see the Niners doing 12, 13 wins. So maybe Jimmy G doesn't play. You're right. Maybe it's close where the Rams had to play everyone. Either way, I do think they're going to be in the playoffs. Should be interesting to see at that point. Yeah, like you mentioned, we don't know who they're going to face. And we mainly want to focus on the Rams schedule. So I like how you had the Rams 12-5. And you know what their over-under is for their wins this year?
11.5 is my guess.
8.5.
Is it real? I would hammer the. I'm not a betting man, so I don't want to get. But if and obviously bet responsibly if you are. But I maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I definitely could be, and they must know something I don't. But 8.5 seems low. I mean, this is a 10-win team last year, and I think they're better. But maybe without Aaron Donald, maybe they do take a step back. But I don't know. Maybe it's my own Rams fan bias, and I have to watch that. But shoot, 8.5. This is a 9 or 10-win team. I think at least.
I think at least 10 teams. I mean, I don't know everyone knows the betting terms, but 8.5, it's pretty juiced. What that means is it's not like most times we got odds. It's like minus 110, 120. It's minus 150, 160 on most sports books, meaning it's about to be pushed to 9.5. So I did an alternate 9.5 at plus 140. I took over 9.5 wins. Looking at the schedule, there's a couple I can probably flip, but I had them going. I'm thinking at least 10 wins. I mean, right now, we'll see. Hopefully they stay healthy. I'm excited to see what happens.
I'm going to repeat myself, which maybe is annoying, but absolutely, it's August 25th. We don't even know what the final rosters are. This is all subject to change. I think this is a fluid situation, but right now, I think you and I both have them as a playoff team. I can't say that they win the Super Bowl, but I actually think they have a very good chance to at least get to the NFC title game and go from there. Or at least the game before the divisional round. But we'll see. I mean, I had them to beat Detroit in the playoffs last year, and they lost by a point. So just because I think something obviously doesn't mean that it's what's going to happen. So we'll see.
Yeah. No, and in closing, sorry if I kept slouching on my chair. I was getting too comfortable. Maybe next time I'll sit up a little more. So new layout.
I'm
having fun with it. But hey, Danny Stone, thanks for your time today on a Sunday. I'm excited to see what happens. Any closing remarks from you?
No, thanks for having me, SamMeeBee. This is a lot of fun, and I'm hoping that we can do more videos, and then hopefully I can tie them in to the Turf Show Times, some of the articles that I write, and hopefully that's okay. I don't see why it wouldn't be. I think it'd be fun to get out there, and who knows, maybe people will watch a little bit or at least read. And I just hope we want to have fun with it. Football's fun. This should be a fun season. I'm expecting it to be a fun season for Rams fans, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Definitely check out Danny Stone on Turf Show Times. But thank you and happy betting. Go Rams.
Love.